So hi all, good evening. Myself Ravi Kumar. So I'm going to take this session as a DevOps engineer. So basically, I'm having a 9+ years of industry experience, and I have 7+ years of experience with DevOps and Azure DevOps. Basically, I'm going to work as a tutor for this course. So basically, and coming to the course, so we are going to teach you the Azure DevOps plus Azure Administration course. So where we can teach you the Azure Administration part along with DevOps and containerization using Docker and Kubernetes and Terraform. So this is all about the high level of the course. But we can walk through the course and course content and prerequisites and why especially we are going to learn Azure DevOps and Azure Administration and what are the use cases and the competencies and opportunities available in the market and other queries if you have anything. Okay, so this is all about we are going to cover in this session. Basically, agenda of this session. I'm going to share my screen. So hope you are all able to see my screen, correct?
Yes,
And
you can see that.
okay, so as part of this course, uh, as part of this Azure DevOps course, we are our primary focus is about Azure administration part and Azure DevOps. Okay. So why we are going to teach you the Azure administration? So basically to learn Azure DevOps course, basically which requires and must and should require a Azure administration. So let's assume if you try to so you are learning this course, and once the course is completed, if you thought to complete, if you thought to attend the Azure DevOps certification, AG that is nothing but AG 400 certification. So if you try to attend the AG 400 certification, that requires a must and should completion of the Azure administration or Azure developer. But developer should not work on the development activities. That's the reason we are covering with the we are come up with the Azure administration part. That means no DevOps engineer should not work as a developer. Okay, if you know development plus DevOps, that is a different role called full stack engineer. Correct. So we are not interested in teaching the full stack engineering course, but we are focused on DevOps plus administration. So this is all about administration plus DevOps course content. But as part of this course, we are going to teach you the what is basically a SDLC lifecycle, what is DevOps lifecycle, and what are the boards, pipelines, etc., etc. Okay, so we'll walk through the one by one. So if you post this course curriculum and duration and those things, we can also have a question and answers. So if you have any concern and if you have any doubts, we can clarify the session here itself. Okay, so coming back to the so why we are learning DevOps. Okay, so there might be different courses available in the market like AWS DevOps, DevOps, Azure DevOps, or GCP DevOps, or Cloud and DevOps Engineer, etc., etc. But all you need to know what is DevOps. Correct, but it's which is a buzzword, which is a culture nowadays. That means let's say example, if you are working in a company call X company, X and YZ company. And if you join as a DevOps engineer, correct, for that company or for that project called Flipkart, let's assume. So there might be a different teams called Scrum Master, Project Manager, Senior Project Manager, Development Team, Front-end Development Team, Back-end Development Team, Database Administrator, Testers, and operation teams, etc., etc. Right? So all the different teams who are working for the project called Flipkart, correct? So to complete the project on time, that must be required some collaboration between the teams, correct? So that collaboration and joint understanding of the joint roles, collaboration and coordination between the different teams, which is comes up with the DevOps only. That means if you if you onboard your application with the help of DevOps, that means It's a shared understanding and joint collaboration between the different teams who are working in a project called Flipkart. That means there is a working agreement between the different teams. Their roles will be must be clear and communicated. Who is going to work on which item, and if there are anything, so who is going to collaboratively working with the different teams. So those roles we can define, and with the help of this DevOps culture, your project is going to be completed on time with high quality and less bugs. That is the motto of the DevOps. Okay, and so if you know the agile process, if you know the waterfall process, what difference than the DevOps engineer? It's a collaboration and the combination of the different teams, integration of the different teams in a project to complete the project on time. That means which requires some different tools needs to be integrated to onboard your application in as a DevOps process. That means if we take this as a example, so here you see different stages are there in the DevOps, correct? So planning activity, there might be a different tool called Jira, and in Azure DevOps, there is a different tool called Azure Boards. Build. Okay, if you start to learn as a DevOps engineer, join as a DevOps engineer, they are going to teach the Jenkins or AWS pipelines or Conquers or Bamboo, etc. But in our course, we are going to teach the Azure pipelines. Test is common across all the DevOps courses. Deploy is different. Here also you are going to work with Azure Cloud. Okay, we are also going to teach you the Azure Cloud alone. But in other courses, they are going to teach you the Jenkins and the AWS Cloud, etc., etc. So there are different tools are available in the market for the different courses. Okay, but our primary focus is about Azure DevOps. Okay, that means your most of the days and most of the work would be on Azure DevOps only. That means you are going to work on Azure DevOps engineer as a to set up their pipelines, CI/CD pipelines using Azure DevOps. Okay, so Microsoft Azure DevOps is a software as a service which is introduced in 2018. Okay, so which is also support both version control systems called Git and TFS. And here you no need to integrate any tools and services additionally. That means you no need to integrate Ansible, no need to integrate Jenkins, etc., etc. So all the integrations already been taken care by the Microsoft Azure, but you are going to how to set up the pipelines and how to work with the different frameworks and version control system and administration and security and the different items we are going to teach you in this course. Okay, so only these are the 5 services which gives you the complete project life cycle, DevOps project life cycle. Okay, and as part of this course, we are also showcase you the high level of the course like Azure administration, version control system using Git, and infra as a code. We are going to teach the Terraform along with PowerShell. But why we are mainly focused on Terraform, which is the most advanced concept nowadays in the market, and these are all the another other Azure administration services. Okay, we are also covered in this course. And coming to the what is the definition of these services? Okay, so basically Azure boards, sorry, basically Azure boards are the planning tool. That means here we are going to track the work of the individual or team and individual member, and to discuss their daily work status, and if they are blocked anywhere, we are going to update in the boards itself. Okay, that means so if you are if you are working in a software company, you might know the agile life cycle and scrum meetings and scrum are those things, right? So these are all will be taken care in the Azure boards alone. So that means Scrum meeting, sprint planning, sprint iterations, backlogs, etc., etc. All these items are created and managed in the Microsoft Azure DevOps service called Azure boards. And coming to the Azure Repos is a cloud hosted public and private repositories. That means application code is pushed and published to the Microsoft Azure Repos. That means Azure DevOps Repos. Here you are going to, here onwards you are going to set up the pipelines and managing and creating and managing of the Azure repos and providing the security and applying the branch policies, etc., etc. You are going to work with the Azure repos. And coming to the Azure pipelines is the CI/CD tools in the Microsoft Azure DevOps service. Here, with the help of Azure Dev pipelines, you are going to set up the CI and CD, continuous integration and continuous deployments using Azure pipelines. That means you are going to work with the, which can also support all the frameworks called Python, C, Java, Spring Boot, .NET Core, React, Next, Angular, any kind of frameworks it supports. That means you can work or you can onboard any kind of applications using Azure DevOps. And obviously test plans is the one. So which is if you are the manual tester or automation tester, so you can write your test automation suite and upload into the test plans service, and there you can integrate into your pipelines. So if you want to do any end-to-end testing. And similarly, Artifacts is the one which is a cloud-based hosting service. That means cloud-based data service which can store your application dependencies. That means Java libraries or Nugget packages or Node.js packages and Node modules, libraries, etc., etc., as well as once your jar is our application executable created, we can store it in artifacts. That means it is a cloud-based storage service where you can store any packages, dependencies, deploying of your application, etc., etc. Okay, this is all about the high-level overview of the Azure DevOps services. Okay, so coming to, so before proceeding to the other topic, do you have any questions on these items? Anyone, any questions?
Hello, am I audible?
Thật đấy, 100 thật đấy. Thật đấy,
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that as you told that only Azure Added service will be used, like will not learn that Ansible and get like that thing. So in company, if the company is working on Azure DevOps, so they'll use this only, or they'll use Jenkins as
Yeah.
well.
No, so actually, so purpose of the DevOps, Azure DevOps is the most of the migrations. I mean to say, so as a DevOps engineer, we started migrating of our pipelines, our applications from the any of the provider like Concurs to Jenkins or Concurs to Azure DevOps or Jenkins to Azure DevOps or Bamboo to Azure DevOps because of the uh, service which they are offered in a Microsoft Azure cloud. So that means, so there is no possibility to, if you join as Azure DevOps engineer, there is no possibility to work with the Jenkins also, because so with the help of Azure pipelines, you are going to set up the pipelines. There is no requirement to work with the Jenkins because it gives the an end-to-end project lifecycle, project onboarding experience, which is compatible with the Jenkins. And here also, we are not going to teach you the Ansible because Ansible can work with the infrastructure as a code as well as configuration management. So, but when it comes to the Azure DevOps and Azure Cloud, there is no concept called configuration management. Configuration management tool is basically suitable for the Linux admins and data center applications and hosting in your application in a data center. So, but in when it comes to Azure DevOps, there is no concept called data center and configuration management. That's the reason we are not going to teach you the Ansible, but which is a competitive tool which is called nothing but Terraform. Terraform, with the help of Terraform, we can work with the infrastructure as a code. Okay, so which is the replacement for the Ansible. Nowadays. Okay, so coming back to this course content. So as part of this program, this is a high level of the course content. So we can walk through the each and every lecture in this demo session. So here we are going to cover the what is life cycle of SDLC life cycle, and what is the DevOps, and what is the DevOps process, what is the introduction to the DevOps and Azure DevOps, which we already discussed, and what are the different services in Azure DevOps, etc., etc. And as part of this course, we will just walk through the Linux administration and shell command basically. Okay, how to work with the Linux basic Linux commands and shell scripts. Okay, so if you want, you just want to know the basics of the Linux administration. Okay, how to change the file permission, how to create the folders and files, and map the files, and etc. etc. So which will give you some sort of Linux administration. And Azure administration basically, these are all the modules, different modules in the Azure administration part: identity and access management, IAM, nothing but the Active Directory in Azure, and security and compliance, governance and compliance service. Okay, and Azure administration, networking and connectivity. Okay, between the network, within the networks, and different networks in Azure networks, and traffic management and load balancers, etc., etc. Storage account, serverless computing and data protection and monitoring, which is basically a containerization kind concept or function apps, app services, etc., etc. Okay, this is high level of the course in Azure administration, but once we can deep dive into the Azure administration part, we can work. It will cover the many topics. Okay, if you take this as an example in the module one, as part of identity service, so we are going to cover the how to create a groups and how to create a user for the first time if they are joined in our company, and what is the roles we are go- we are going to assign to that candidate, and how to manage the permissions of the user, and how to create the applications, how to create the permissions and service principles, etc., etc. And similarly, if you take the example of virtual networking, how to create a network, and how to create the IPs and IP range, and how to create a number of IPs as per your requirement, those calculations and practical sessions we are going to teach you in the module number 4. Okay, similarly, virtual machines and how to create a virtual machine, what are the different flavors, different size, and security, etc., etc. We are going to cover in the module number 8. Okay, so there are different topics which are available, but we are just provide a high level of the administration part. Okay, and PowerShell. So PowerShell, as a Azure DevOps engineer, we need to have the basics understanding of the PowerShell and PowerShell usage. Okay, so PowerShell, why we are going to work with the PowerShell. So let's say, for example, you are as a DevOps engineer, so we ask you to work with the Azure administration also, let's assume. So in that case, you should be in a position to work with Azure administration. In worst case, you are also in a position to work with the PowerShell on daily basis. So apart from that, so you should be in a position to create any resource in Azure portal with the help of PowerShell, update anything, or delete anything, or manage or manipulate anything in Azure with the help of PowerShell. So those commandable options we are going to teach you in this lecture. Okay. So what is the alternative to this PowerShell? As I told earlier, we are going to teach you the Terraform. Okay, Terraform and ARM template, Bicep, or PowerShell, etc. etc. There are different ways, lot many ways to create any resource in Azure portal. Okay, but out of all these ways, this is the basics PowerShell commands to create any resource in Azure, as well as we, as part of this course, we are also provide you the Terraform. So that means with the help of Terraform also, you should be in a position to create any resource in Azure. Okay, how to work with the Terraform and PowerShell we are going to cover in this in the course. Okay, Azure DevOps core concepts, basically how to create agent pool, how to create a repository, how to work with the Git version control system, and how to work with the different build tools and different frameworks using classic YAML, classic editor, YAML, or even with YAML templates. So those lecture we are going to cover in this concepts, Azure DevOps course concept. Okay, and basically, so this Git administration. So if you joined as a DevOps engineer in any company or any client, that means you will be the single point of contact person for that project team, that means application team. So if they are faced any issue with the working with the Git, or if they are not understanding how to work with the Git, so you should be in a position to teach them or educate them if they are facing any issues. That means you will be the administrator, Git administrator for the application team, development team. Okay, so they are reach out to you anytime if they are facing any issue with the working with the Git, or Git administration, or branching strategy, or deployment strategy, and managing the users and their permissions. All these administration activities we are going to cover in this lecture. Okay, along with what are the different types of version control system, and what are the difference, and why we are going to teach you the especially Git compared with the other tools. So that lecture we are going to cover in this chapter. Okay, and coming back to the ARM templates. Okay, so ARM templates and Terraform, Bicep, PowerShell. So these are all the infrastructure as a code. As part of infrastructure as a code, so you can create any infrastructure using Terraform or ARM template in a Azure cloud. Okay, ARM template basically Azure Resource Manager, which can support only to the Azure cloud. Okay, which cannot be a cross cloud service. Okay, with the help of ARM templates, we cannot deploy any resource in AWS or GCP, vice versa. Okay, so there is a different service called Cloud Formation template, which is available for the AWS and etc. But why we are going to teach the Terraform? So already we are covering the PowerShell and Terraform. Why we are going to teach you the ARM templates, especially in this course? Because no one knows who is going to work on what tool and a DevOps process. Okay, if you join as a DevOps engineer, that means you should be in a position to take any responsibility. That means if they ask you to work on Terraform, you should be in a position to take up those challenge. At the same time, if they ask you to work on Terraform, you should be in a position to take those challenge. So that's the reason we are come up with the concepts called ARM templates as well as PowerShell and Terraform. Okay. So basically CI/CD, okay, continuous integration, continuous deployment. We always focused our primary focus, and entire this course lecture will focus on the Azure DevOps services. Okay. As part of this Azure DevOps lecture, Azure DevOps course, we are primarily focused on Azure pipelines. Okay, Azure pipeline service is basically a complete CI and CD tool. That means continuous integration and continuous deployments. We are going to do with the Azure pipelines. Here create we can create and automate end-to-end pipelines for your application. It can support any languages and frameworks. Okay, you can create a CI/CD pipelines using classifier, okay, YAML pipelines as well as templates. Okay, so all these flavors of the pipeline setup we are going to cover in this lecture, as well as what are the different types of agent pool and how to set up the agent pool, and what are the parallel jobs, how to create a service connections, and how to manage the permissions in the project, and how to create the repository, how to uh, share the agent pools and service connections between the projects to project in a organization, those organization structure and etc. we are going to cover in this chapter. Okay, along with administration and Azure DevOps, there are the few other tools. Okay, what are the tools? We are basically covering Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, as part of the real nowadays present trend in the market, containerization is a trend in the market. There is no concept called servers. Host your application in JBoss, WebLogic, Tomcat, Nginx, etc. etc. Okay, so all the project market trend in the market is container based application hosting in a Kubernetes or any orchestration tool called OpenShift, etc. etc. That means, so as part of cost cutting mechanism, so they are hosting their application as a container based application. How to create a containers and what are the container tools available in the market? We are going to come up with the Docker. Okay, and basic of the Docker commands, how to create a container with the help of Docker and Docker file, what is image, what is container, how to run the container, and how to test your container, etc. etc. Okay, so these options, this chapter basically covers the Docker and Docker containers. And finally, container orchestration tool. So how to create a Kubernetes cluster and cluster administration, and how to create different services in a Kubernetes cluster and their uses, and how to host your application in a Kubernetes cluster, and what are the volumes, what is secret, etc. etc. We are going to teach you in the Kubernetes service. Okay. And coming to the Terraform, as I said earlier, Terraform is a infrastructure as a code. That means you can work with any cloud. Okay, that means it can support any cloud like console, GCP, GoDaddy, or Alibaba, GCP, AWS. Okay, Azure. Okay, any cloud. So there are lot many providers are available in the market. It can support any cloud vendor. Okay, at the same time, what is the difference between ARM and Terraform? What makes the difference when all the infra team they are migrating from ARM to Terraform? What is the use case? What is the benefit they are going to get, etc. We are going to teach you in this Terraform. Okay, and working with the Linux and Windows environments and installation of the Linux servers and Windows servers, and how to work and how to navigate those things we are going to cover in this chapter. Okay, Terraform basics, what are the variables, what are the modules. Okay, as part of this course, we are basically mostly working teach you on the modules. Okay, so modules are the most advanced concept than Terraform.tf file. What is the plain Terraform file when compared with the module, which is a reusability? Those reusability we are going to cover in this chapter. Okay, so at the end of the course, so we are also provided the end-to-end project lifecycle. That means real-time projects which we currently working on our client. So I will showcase you the how to integrate different different frameworks like Java with front-end React, okay, Java Spring Boot with React or Angular, or even with Angular or React with the .NET Core, and even middleware with the SQL servers or MongoDB or Cosmos DB. Those kind of real-time projects I am going to show you post the end of the course. Okay. So this is all about course and course content in detail, and so we can also provide the in detail course content of Azure administration once we go through the regular classes. Okay. So coming back to the other thing, like what is the if you ask me what is the prerequisite to learn this course, there is no prerequisites as on today. So that means as a DevOps engineer, you should not be in a position to write a Java code or Angular or React application code to set up the CA and CD pipeline. But all you need to know basics of the coding knowledge. That means, so if the pipeline or if the application is failed in any of the phase in the life cycle, you should be in a position to debug the application issue and fix the issue. At the same time, basics of the Linux administration, that means Linux commands, basic Linux commands and PowerShell commands, and any one of the programming knowledge like Java, Python, Perl, C++, etc., etc. So this is the basics of prerequisites of the course to learn this course. And post this course, we are going to provide the resume and sample interview questions, and we can also discuss the question and answers. And if you are facing any issues, etc., etc. And duration of the course probably 45 days to 2 months hardly. So we can that session timing and date we are going to file. I mean, say they are going to finalize, but this is all about the course and details. Any question from anyone?
Yeah, hi. I am coming from non-IT background, so I am not aware aware about languages or some kind of coding. So, is it be useful for me to get this in this course without having knowledge on that part?
Yeah, coding is not a mandatory, Abdul. So all you need to know, so basic understanding of the project. So for say example, if you are assigning to work on a project called banking application, let's say example. So if the pipeline is failed using, if you are set up the pipeline, if the pipeline is failed due to some issue, right? You should be in a position to drag down the issue where it is failed. So that's the reason we are asking to have some knowledge, but it's not a mandatory. Okay. If you are in a position to, if you practice well and if you practice the course thoroughly, that means that will be gives you enough confidence for you. That means we are not asking you to learn any programming language and prior to this course. You should be in a position to manage.
Hi,
Yeah, hi.
this is Gaurish.
Yeah, Gaurish.
Just I have one small doubt. Are we going to work on any real-time projects or only it's a course?
Yeah, I'm going to show you the real-time projects, how the integration is happening between the framework to framework. So at the end of this course.
Okay, okay. See, for me, the main concept is we have to learn on the practical thing, like how
Correct,
the
correct,
companies are working in a real time.
correct,
That is
correct.
what I'm looking for. That's the reason I've asked you.
Yeah. So our daily sessions will be on scenario based classes, but at the end of the course, I'll show you how to integrate between the frameworks. Let's say, so if you developed application, e-commerce application, let's say. So if the application is developed by using Java Spring Boot with the React JS application, there might be integrations are required between the framework, front end to back end, right? Those integrations I'm going to show you at the end of the course. How to integrate,
Okay,
I'm going to show you with the real-time scenarios.
great. Thank you. I didn't get your name.
So my name is Ravi Kumar Gaurish.
Okay, Ravi. Thank you.
Hi Ravi, this is Hindu
Yeah,
myself. Hi, thanks for the introduction part. It's good, like you're going to go through all these topics. So, however, this practice sessions, will we be able to have the practice session, or how is it going to help
Yeah.
us?
So every class, it's not a teaching session. So administration, right? Administration, every topic is going to be we can cover with the practice session. So I'm going to show you on the class itself how to create a virtual machine, and as part of, as well as post the discussion, what is the benefit of virtual machine and how to create, and what are the security, what is network, those things. Along with, at the end of the class, we are going to show you how to create and how to manage the security and networking. So every, this part basically completely hands-on session only. That
Okay.
means real-time sessions only. There is no classes like if you are attending any programming languages, right? So they are going to explain in the blackboard something, something.
Yeah, yeah.
Else condition and how to Fibonacci series, etc., etc. They are going to teach in the blackboard. We can simply note down and command and we can practice it, hard code it. But here in this DevOps course, not only DevOps, not only Azure DevOps, any DevOps course, it's a completely practical oriented session. So that means if you talk about Git administration, that means we are not going to teach you the theoretical session. So completely Git commands, how to work with the Git and branching strategy and merging the branches, working with the branches. Those things are completely practical session. What all you need to know, post this end of the course, we should be in a position to handle the real-time project. So that integration also we are going to teach you at the end of the course.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Daily, like overall, how many hours of class is this?
So daily 1 hour class, and Monday to Friday. So there is no weekend classes. I mean, it's a Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. And we will also get the recording
Yeah,
of the classes, right?
yeah, sure. Post the end of the class, we are going to get the recording session.
Got it. Got it.
As part of this course, basically, we are primarily focused on Azure DevOps, correct? But if you are trying to explore some job opportunities as a DevOps engineer, that means if you look at in Naukri portal or somewhere else, so that means there are hundreds of job opportunities available in the market, thousands of jobs available in the market. Out of these thousands of jobs, someone is looking for the DevOps engineer, that means Jenkins experience. Someone looking for the AWS with Jenkins. Someone who is looking for the Azure DevOps with Azure Cloud, correct? Because DevOps is a common platform for all the cloud as well as services applications. That means who is someone is looking for the DevOps engineer, he is also looking for the experience in a Jenkins. That means Jenkins DevOps is the one of the tool, CI/CD tools is Jenkins. But when it comes to Azure DevOps, it's a completely Microsoft Azure and Azure DevOps and other containerization tool, Docker, Kubernetes, and Terraform. Okay, there is no correlation between the Azure DevOps with any other DevOps engineer. Your role will be clear and your job role will be very clear. And here you are going to, they are going to ask you to work on the Azure DevOps only. That means they are, if they recruit as a Azure DevOps engineer, that means they are not going to ask you to work on the Jenkins, because this course itself is stating that you are the DevOps engineer, Azure DevOps engineer. That means you have experience on Microsoft Azure DevOps only. Okay. And I'm going to show you. So here, if you see, there is no concept called cross cloud functionality. That means if you are working with the application onboarding using Azure DevOps, that means you are not going to host your application in AWS. That means, so this is the Azure DevOps portal on my account. So that means my project. Okay, this is what my project. If I try to deploy my application in Azure itself, Okay, if you try to deploy your application in AWS, there is no possibility to host your application in AWS. Okay, but there is a service called Jenkins. It is a CI and CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment tool, which is a Jenkins and SCM tracking and ticketing tool Jira, Kubernetes, Maven, and Nugget, right? So these are the different services available in the ADO, correct? So that means you are not going to work with the cross cloud if you are learning as a Azure DevOps engineer. And here, if you see, you just want to set up, you just go ahead and set up the pipeline for the different frameworks. It can support any one of any language or any framework. Okay, at the same time you can work with any version control system like Git and TFS. Earlier in 2020 or before, okay, 20 or before, that means when the Microsoft Azure acquired the Git. Okay, so once Microsoft Azure acquired the Git in 2020, so on before 2020, in between 2018 to 2020, so Microsoft Azure DevOps is supported only TFS, Team Foundation Server. It is also called as a Team Foundation Server. But once the acquire is completed between the GitHub and Microsoft Azure, they called as renamed as Azure DevOps, and it can also support the version control system called Git and TFS. Okay, so if I go back to the my organization, if I try to create a new project called demo app, okay, so there are two types of projects visibility, public and private. Obviously, private only. That means I'm not interested to expose my project into the public. Okay, if you click on advanced version control system, so there are two version control systems available now. In before 2020, it is only TFS, but in the span of 3 years, so once the Microsoft is acquired the Git, they become as a Azure DevOps. They changed this name to Azure DevOps, as well as version control system. They supported using Git and TFS. That means when I started working in a Microsoft company, so we migrated from the core repository from TFS to Git, because so once the migration is acquisition is completed to the Git, they started working with the migration of the TFS to Git. Okay, so agile process, it can support agile, basic, CMMI, Scrum. So Scrum, so you if you know if you are already working in a company, you know, right? So how, what is the Scrum and what is Sprint, etc. So this all about so Azure DevOps introduced recently. Okay, so coming back to the project, it can support any project. Like I'm going to show you the different language templates. I'm going to show you here in this example. So I have a project called C Sharp, that means .NET Core Application. That means it can support .NET, okay, Terraform, okay, which is also one of the project, right? One of the framework. And if you see, this is what my again C Sharp application. I have a project called React.js, AngularJS, and Java Spring Boot. That means you can work with any language, okay, with the Azure DevOps. So here, along with this, as part of this course, we are going to show you how to set up the pipeline using Classic Editor and YAML pipeline, as well as template. Okay, so if you have any idea about how to work with the templates and the Groovy script, all those things, right, in using Jenkins. So templates are the most reusable piece of work. That means, so once you set up the template, you can work with the multiple projects, okay, with the single template repository. So those things we are going to cover in this course.
I have one question. When we'll use Terraform, so that script will be run from Azure DevOps portal or from our local.
I'm going to teach you from the both the scenarios. Like, so we'll basically starts with the CLA, that means local machine, and what how are you going to set up, and what the commands we are basically running to set up the infra using Terraform, as well as once you have gone through the basics, right? So we are going to convert those basic concepts into the pipeline using Azure pipelines. Okay. So basically we need to know, so process, what the background, what the process is running in the background, we need to know. So then only you should be in a position to handle like complex scenarios. So we are, first of all, we have come up with the CLI commands, how to install and how to set up the Terraform in your local machine, and how to authenticate with the cloud provider, and what are the issues we are going to face while integrating with your local computer with the cloud provider, and how to resolve those issues. Then only you should be in a position to integrate those changes into the pipeline. Okay. If you can directly go ahead and start a pipeline in Azure DevOps to create the infrastructure using Terraform, definitely you are going to face lot many issues. Okay. So those issues resolution, you should not, it will take some time if you are directly integrating into the pipeline. So, but if you, with the help of Terraform in a local, you should be in a position to take care. Okay, if you see here, this is what my Terraform repository, which is available in my local computer. If I run the Terraform, it's directly go ahead and start resource provisioning using Azure Cloud. That means you can create a file, simple TF file, and you can start. Run Terraform plan. So working with the Terraform is pretty simple, but you need to know the basics of the basic working principle, and how to work and how to resolve the issues, and how to manage the state file, and how to secure the state file is a challenging in the real time scenario, real time world. If I just run the Terraform plan, you should be in a position to see the what are the resources we are going to create as part of this Terraform lecture, correct? But it's a simple. If I run apply, it is go ahead and create. But how I am integrating, my local computer should know and connect it to my Azure portal and Azure subscription and resource groups, etc., etc. Right? So those integration we are going to teach you in the CLA part. Similarly, we can convert into the pipeline. I have a pipeline for this also. So if you see my project, okay. So actually, I'm going to teach you completely on the modules. Okay. So I'm not going to teach you the plain manifest file, plain TF file waiting, and creation using Terraform. Okay. So I'm going to completely focus on the module, how to write a module for the infra provisioning, and what is the benefit of modules, and those part we are going to cover in this Terraform. Okay. So as well as we are going to discuss the main differences working with the Terraform versus PowerShell, ARM template, Bicep, etc., etc. So we can walk through the we will show you mostly with the real-time scenarios only. Okay, no issues, I
Uh,
guess.
Ravi, one question. Uh, in your perspective, GCP and Azure both were real competitive in this current world, right? So, what is your view on Azure, and which one at this moment you can say like we can prefer while onboarding the applications? Because most of the companies were in a dilemma, like whether to go with Azure or GCP, right?
Hmm.
So.
So, when come to the competitor, cloud competitors. So, cloud competitor, if you take the percentage, how the growth between the and what is the growth when it comes to from if you take to get the growth of the each provider, okay, cloud provider from the past 5 years. So, when was the Azure cloud is introduced in the market? So, which is 2014 around. And from 2014 to in the span of 10 years, what is the market share in the world, which is a 26% of overall market share. And Azure and AWS and GCP is comes together is a 35 to 40%. Okay, so if you accumulate both the cloud, AWS, GCP, and Azure, is a 66 percentage. Okay, that means Azure is growing faster than AWS and GCP. GCP overall market share is almost beyond 10% only. Okay, so if you take recent last year market share, okay, 2023 market share,
Mm-hmm.
GCP is almost 10% only. But if you accumulate both the market like GCP, AWS, and Azure, it is a 66 percentage. Okay, AWS is 32 percentage, and which is down from the 34 to 32 percentage. Okay, and GCP is 10 percentage, and Microsoft Azure is recently 26 percentage. That means if you see what is their growth in the market. So, and even recently, Microsoft Azure they started onboarding. They started increasing their market. At the same time, most of the applications they are migrating from the AWS to Azure or GCP to Azure because of the cost. Okay. So Azure and Azure DevOps and Azure, they are giving the some sort of discounts and cost benefits to host their applications using Azure DevOps and Azure in the Azure cloud. Okay, so that's the reason we migrated from few applications from the AWS to Azure. Okay, so as per my opinion, Azure is the trustable and most preferred cloud because they are having a huge business plans in the next coming 5 to 10 years. So let's assume. So if you started using Azure DevOps as a CI/CD tool, and where you are going to deploy your application, you should go ahead and deploy the application in Azure only. There is no option, correct? So if you go with Azure DevOps with Azure, so you are going to get some cost benefit because both the services are offered by the Microsoft Azure.
Mm.
Correct. So if
Yeah.
you create infrastructure in Azure AWS, and if you ask you to work with the Azure DevOps, it's not a make sense. Correct. So
Mm.
that's the reason. So in general, if you purchase any two items in the same shop, you are going to get some cost benefits. Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the reason Microsoft Azure and is growing very fast when they introduced Microsoft Azure DevOps in the 2018 because lot of migrations happening into the Azure and Azure DevOps. Any questions?
Yeah. Thanks, Ravi, for that. No.
And coming to the competition. So if you learn a DevOps with any cloud versus Azure DevOps with Azure, so here is the competition will be very less when compared to the other cloud and other DevOps tools because Linux admins are available, AWS engineers are available, AWS cloud administrator solution architects are available. That means, so if you apply for a one job in a Flipkart, let's say example, there will be a 1 to 10 or 1 to more than 50 also in some cases based on your experience, based on your profile, weightage, etc., etc. But when it comes to Azure DevOps, here is the competition is very less. So few project and few companies, they are looking for the immediate joiners because of the urgency. So if you take this, if you take one opportunity in TCS, they are looking for the immediate candidates because they require an urgent basis. Okay.
Okay.
There are a lot of permutations and combinations, correlations, and etc. Hindu, but it is going to be a work.
Mm, sure.
But all you need to know, you need to know the what is your role. Okay, so what you are going to work and
Yeah.
what are the tools you are going to teach. We are going to teach you and you are going to learn. So
Yeah.
the understanding and the differences between the different roles in the market is going to give you the confidence when you are attending a interview. Okay,
Yeah.
if you see lot of different roles are available as well as tools are different. So if you know the clear understanding between the tools and course, you should be in a position to take up any interview.
Yeah. Agree. That's right.
అదే అడుగుతాను.